Buri Egnason surges into the foe with ferocious abandon of one with nothing left to lose. With sweeps of his adaptive Darkstar Glaive, this survivor carves a bloody path through the enemy. Not even the most monstrous prey can evade the colossal reach of the thrice devoured's vengeance. Hello there, in this video I'll be showing you how to paint this amazing Leagues of Votann character. He's absolutely stunning with that Darkstar Glaive and that Tyranid carapace on the back being some striking aspects of the mini. He's incredibly detailed, but painting him doesn't have to be as difficult as you think, so stick around and let's get started. The paints I'm using are on screen now. I think this arsenal of colours is perfect for trying to resemble the box art without going overboard. But remember that these are just the ones I've picked out, so you can totally use anything you like. And same again for the brushes and extra equipment that you see here. So first up is the undercoat. You can use pretty much anything you want to for this, but I'm using Grey Seer spray. There's quite a few bright areas on this mini that are an off-white, like the cloak, and a bright undercoat like Grey Seer will make painting those parts much easier. With that out of the way, let's get started with the base coat. There's lots of details on this model that need base coating, starting with the trousers. For this, I'm using two thin layers of Wraithbone. If you use Wraithbone spray for your undercoat instead of Grey Seer, feel free to skip this stage. Don't worry about being too neat around the armour panels like here on the knees, but try your best not to get any Wraithbone onto the cloak here. And there we go, with that done, let's move on. Up next is the armour. There's loads of ways to paint Votann armour, but I really like to use Stegadon Scale Green. Once again, be careful around the Tyranid hide cloak, which goes all the way up the sides here, and be careful around the Wraithbone trousers that we just painted. If you do make any mistakes, you can simply go back and tidy them up with the appropriate paint. But I'd recommend doing this once all the base coats have been applied, as it will save you time. And there we are, that nice dark bluey green armour has been base coated. Up next, the metallics. Moving on now to Iron Warriors to base coat all the silver details. Feel free to use a different silver like Leadbelcher if you want a brighter colour. Now there's quite a lot of silver details dotted around this mini. If you're struggling to find them, keep the box close to hand or check out the model on the Warhammer website if you've already thrown away the box. I find that having the box art nearby always comes in handy when painting super detailed characters like this. And there we are, with the silver details done, let's move on to the gold. For all the gold areas, I'm using Retributor armour. Don't worry about the small gold rune within the blade, I'd recommend painting that once the blade is finished. We're starting to get quite a few base coats onto our model now, so take extra care and don't be disheartened if you make any mistakes. It happens to the best of us and we can always fix them up later. Blammo, that's the metallics done and dusted. Before you move on, now is a great time to quickly change your paint water. We don't want any of those pesky metallic flakes getting into our other colours. With that out of the way, back to base coating. I'm painting all the black areas using Corvus Black. If you don't have Corvus Black, Abaddon Black will work fine too. I just personally find that using an off black works better for shading later, but it's totally up to you. There's not many black areas on this model, primarily it's just the feet and the talons tied all over the model. Speaking of which, to paint the robe that ties them on, I'm using Rhinox hide. I'm also picking out the glaive handle too with this. Nice and easy. The next big area to base coat is all that awesome Tyranid carapace on the back of the model. I'm copying the box art and painting this in the scheme of Hive Fleet Leviathan, meaning I'm using Naggaroth Knight for this next step. But feel free to paint the carapace on your model a different colour to represent a different Hive Fleet. On the box art, some of these carapace pieces are slightly lighter, and for these parts I'm just painting the edges of them with Naggaroth Knight. But you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Nearly done with the base coats now, there's just a few areas left to pick out. For the eyes and the Tyranid skull on top of the mini, I'm using Corax White. I'm also using this to paint the blade of the glaive. The brighter we make this now, the brighter it will appear later. This is where that undercoat will really come in handy. Painting Corax White over Grey Seer is nice and easy, and far easier than painting over something like Chaos Black. But you may still need a couple thin layers. Now, time for some contrast paints. For the skin, I'm using a quick coat of Guilliman Flesh. Feel free to swap this out with a different contrast paint if you want a slightly different skin tone. For the teeth on the skull, I'm using Skeleton Horde, and then for the right eye, I'm using Frost Heart, and then finally for the left eye, Blood Angels Red. And that concludes all the contrast paints for now. All that's left to base coat is that huge tactical rock in whatever colour will match the rest of your army. For me, I'm using Mechanicus Standard Grey. And there we go, Buri Egnason is fully base coated and ready for shading. It's worth mentioning that if you still have any mistakes on your model that need fixing, now is the time to go ahead and get those fixed. Right, to kick off the shading, I'm using Targor Ray Shade over pretty much everything. Everything other than the bright carapace areas, the hide cloak and the blade wants a coating of this. Which means I can't just slap it on. I'm being quite careful with my application, and if I do make any mistakes, I will have to go back and reapply the base coat over the top. And there we are, I've given that shade some time to dry, and this mighty Leagues of Votann hero is really starting to shape up. But a huge part still missing some paint is that gnarly Tyranid hide cloak. Now it's still in that grey cit undercoat currently, which is perfect because next up I'm adding some Magos purple thinned down with some contrast medium in a 1:1 ratio all over the cloak. This will give it just a slight purple hue which will look awesome. I'm also adding this to any other details that I want to be a bit more purple, like the other Tyranid details dotted around the base. If you want the purple hue on your model to be a bit more intense, you can add a second layer or just forego the contrast medium entirely and use the paint straight from the pot. It's your call. Right, okay, I've saved the best till last. All that's left is that awesome Dark Star glaive. Now, something like this can be quite intimidating, but it really doesn't have to be. There's all sorts of ways to paint blades like this, with glazes or blends and 1 million highlights, but trust me, you can get some pretty cool results incredibly easily. So for my blade, I'm starting off with an all-over coat of Sigvald Burgundy. I've thinned this down with some contrast medium once again. This time I've used 2 parts medium to 1 part paint. Now I'm applying quite a lot of paint in one smooth motion. Then I'm drying off my brush and soaking up the paint where it pools. Notice how the paint will start to collect in certain areas and form a natural blend of colour from dark to light. This is exactly what we want. If these pools aren't collecting where you want them, while it's still wet you can attempt to manoeuvre and manipulate the paint. But try not to do this too much as you'll start to get some unwanted results as it dries. Once it is dry, now I'm taking Druchii Violet straight from the pot and doing the exact same thing. This will give us a colour that closer resembles the box art whilst also emphasising those natural blends even more. While you've got Druchii Violet out on the palette, you can also add it to some of the other gold areas to give them a purple hue. And blammo, a super easy purple blended glaive done super quickly using only a couple colours. At this point you could totally base Buri and call him ready for battle. But seeing as this guy is a character, why not add a few extra steps into the mix? If you're interested in adding some highlights to your mini, stick around. First up, let's highlight that Tyranid carapace using Genestealer Purple. You can do this using a small layer brush or a dry brush, it's totally up to you. With that done, I'm doing the same thing but just a bit smaller and more delicately with Slaanesh Grey. If you find that it's a little too bright after this stage, you can reapply some Targor Ray Shade over the top to darken it down. And there we go, some awesome looking Tyranid carapace. For the armour, Fenrisian Grey is a great all-round highlights colour. Take your time and be as neat as you can for the best results. And if you do mess up here, just go straight back to Stegodon Scale Green from right at the start of the paint guide and neaten up any mistakes. Once you're happy, take some Celia Green shade and apply it all over the armour to bring all those different colours together. Looks awesome. Next up, I'm using Ulthuan Grey to highlight the blade, stone on the base, feet, and the sharpest points of the carapace if you want to do that too. Now, if you want to be really precise, you can go in and carefully edge highlight all these areas, or if you're anything like me and you love to dry brush, you can go about it in that way instead. Or just use a combination of both methods, it's totally up to you. I will say, if you do want to dry brush these areas, be extra gentle and careful, especially on the blade. Less is more and too much paint will take away from the finished look. Finally, to finish up, I'm highlighting all the metallic areas using Stormhost Silver. Once again, remember that you have a variety of different techniques at your disposal here. And there we go, Buri Egnason is finished and ready for battle. I've gone ahead and based him with some texture paint, as well as paint the base rim, and now he looks truly awesome. And wow, he was so much fun to paint. Thanks so much for tuning into this paint guide. Hopefully you found it useful, not just for painting this epic character, but also for your other Votann minis. Or perhaps maybe painting purple power weapons. Anyway, that's all from me, and in the meantime, if you're looking for more painting tips and tricks, check out some of the other videos on the Warhammer YouTube channel, or alternatively, you can head to a Warhammer store where our friendly staff are always happy to help. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye bye!